look at it from a global perspective, how does your work benefit the normal person?
Well, in terms of adaptation, it's very important because if we don't have food, I mean, we cannot do anything in life, basically.
I have coffee. That can help me.
But that's also food. That's the point. I mean, regardless where you live, we are really dependent on agriculture.
Hello, Andrea Catalina Fajardo. Welcome to Ph.D. Hard Talk. Thank you so much for your time today. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for inviting me here. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Excellent. So what I wanted to speak to you about was your research. Could you please introduce your research to us as an audience?
Yeah, sure. My research, in really big terms, is about the assessment of different climate adaptation strategies in the agricultural sector. And as a study, I analyze a crop system here in Germany, where I'm living in.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So how does your research help people in the community?
Well, that's a good question. Just to give a bigger context about that, my research started with different interviews to different stakeholders, including farmers, including some official institutions that help farmers to adapt to climate change, for example. So the first year was only interviewing them to know what were the issues, what were the concerns about climate change, what things they have tried already to try to adapt or mitigate to climate change. And it was a two-way communication because I didn't want to go like a scientist, like I know everything, but on the opposite, you know more than myself, and I just want to try to help you. With that kind of mindset that helped me a lot because I'm not German. I can speak German, but I'm not German. I don't look like a typical German. So of course it would be like a German. They were already nice, but but imagine like 20 years doing the work on the field and I just come like a young Black woman. Yeah, I want to help you with climate change in your field. Let me know how I can help you.
Okay.
So in order to answer the question, my research is really based on that and the participatory method that I get all the information from the farmers and all the stakeholders, and I process the information in my crop model and I analyze the strategies they already applied to see if it actually makes sense in the long-term future. And this project is already over. So after all the results were done, I prepared everything and we did a workshop and I tell you, okay, the results of my crop simulations together with the interviews that we have done a year back. This is our results and we discussed it together, basically, and said, okay, this makes sense. This is a strategy we cannot apply because X, Y, and Z. Then we need more help from the government. So it was a really nice discussion. So that was really important for me that my research was not only on the computer, but also like working together with the people that I'm doing my case study about.
Okay, I understand that you're working with the people that you're doing the case study about. So let's remove the borders now. Let's look at it from a global perspective. How does your work benefit the normal person? We'll pick Africa then, and in China and in Colombia, Brazil. How do they benefit from your research?
Well, in terms of adaptation, it's very important because if we don't have food, we cannot do anything in life, basically.
I have coffee. That can help me.
but that's also food. That's the point. I mean, regardless where you live, we are really dependent on agriculture.
Yeah. I'm joking.
It's fine. That's better this way.
No,
of course, my research was really focused on Germany, but it can be extrapolated in terms of what is needed to keep an agricultural system sustainable across the time, together with climate change. Like I said, everybody has to eat. And especially, like, for example, in a country like mine, we are really dependent on agriculture. And in order to see, okay, especially for my country, if I get the results in German, you'll say, that works. then the politicians and the government will be more interested in what I did, because I have done it. I have some contact in Colombia. Look what I have done. And now I'm interested how we can apply this in Colombia. And I can tell, yeah, of course, its agriculture system is different, but the basics are the same. So if we have enough water and if we have enough nutrients, the crops are going to grow in really basic terms. And that applies to other countries as well.
Yeah, no, I love that. I guess what I was trying to think of is there are a lot of villages in certain parts of the world that still rely on agriculture. And I'm thinking if it can work in Germany, because the climate is not so good in that sense, they have better climates in terms of sun, the seasons, they're quite stable. So therefore, I don't know if the soil has nutrients, because that ain't my field, but I would like to think they could grow more. So your research could potentially benefit those in such parts of the world. For example, Mozambique, the Congo has a lot of bushes. Maybe, such parts of the world. That's what I'm thinking in terms of.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, you will need another kind of analysis because the conditions, like you said, are different. The climate conditions, the soil conditions are different. It would be like, but of course, in terms of what I have done in my PhD, I mean, let's say this framework that I developed, I can apply it to other small farmers, also in villages. Like, I mean, I have never been in Africa, so I don't know, would like to go. But assuming that, of course, this framework can be, like plug and play, put it here, then put it there, put it in other parts of the world, and it should work.
Okay.
A more sustainable food. Yes.
No, that's quite interesting. So in terms of your passion then, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily wake up and think, okay, this is what I'm going to research. Where does your passion stem from?
Well, that's a really complex question. Like you said before recording this, I love also helping people. And I'm not really motivated by money or, like the so-called success or building a career, but more to do something meaningful. And I studied chemical engineer back home. And then I work in a really big companies, multinationals that produce these fungicides that are not really that good for sustainable organic agriculture. And then I realized, no, that's not what I want to do the rest of my life. I mean, I'm making good money, but what is the purpose of it? Just destroying the soil, and the small farmers in Colombia are not benefit from it, which is the majority in my country. So I quit my job. I moved to the capital city and started working for NGOs and work more on the field. And then I realized, yeah, that's what I would like to do, but what is the best way to do it? And that led me to do my master, to come to Germany, to hear more knowledge, more resources than my country, so I could give that back to Colombia somehow. And I did a master's, and now I'm finishing my PhD in agriculture-related topics. And that's something that fascinates me, because now I got from my PhD is not only agriculture, but also climate change, adaptation, and mitigation. And now it just round out my profile, so to say. And now I feel like more confident, like I said, contact people in Colombia and say, I have done this, and I can help you with that. And that's what it motivates me every day, basically. And then research, is great because I'm really nerdy, so I love learning. But for me, it's more important what I can do with this knowledge. For me, it's not only about the papers, it's about the impact I can do on communities.
Okay, so let's change the narrative a little bit. Let's look at the young girl in Chile, for example, or in the DR, or Mexico, who's thinking, do you know what? I want to embark on a similar journey, but I'm quite nervous because I don't know how to speak Spanish. Oh, that's a lie. German.
I hope they can speak Spanish in Mexico.
Wrong language to use. Or I don't speak French. Or my English is not so good. And, I do want to make an impact scientifically, and I do want to educate, my home country to say we can do better to sustain ourselves I can see that there are loops and you know, different gaps here.
Mm-hmm.
What advice do you have for them?
Well, I would say many advices, but coming from my personal experience, you have to be willing to make sacrifices along the way if you really want to do that. For example, I had a good job, like I was telling you before.
Yeah.
And many of my colleagues that I thought they were friends, they said, I'm making a bad decision and just, you know, give me their back. And I was alone, and they were like comparing, look, this person is making more money now, and you were like earning no money, and you're working with those rural communities in nowhere. Before I came to Germany. So yeah, of course they were good friends, but most of the people just gave me their back basically. And then I realized, what do I want more in life? Like, I want to follow this passion of mine, or just, yeah, I can just stay in my comfort zone. I know it sounds super cliche. You say, yeah, you have to step out of your comfort zone. But in this case, it's true. That you are, like I said, you have to be willing to make such sacrifices. Like sometimes maybe you cannot spend the weekend drinking, but instead learning a new language. Or instead of going to the movies, then you have to spend more time like doing applications for universities if you want to pursue a master's degree or PhD. Then those kind of sacrifices, but at the end will pay off. Like in the moment you will not see it. And the moment I was thinking all the time, what I'm doing is right. Is this the right decision? Or should I be just dancing in the club on the Saturday? I love dancing. So of course it was a really hard decision at that time. But now I can speak to you about it. I mean, if you were just in Colombia, we haven't met, and I will not be able to talk about research and what I have done here in Germany. And now I can go, I mean, not due to Corona, but, you know, now I could go to dance in the club on the Saturday. So it's not like it was waste time. And also trust in your gut. Sometimes we think like everything has to be rational. And I have learned through the years that, I mean, trust your gut. I mean, sometimes it's telling you something that is right. If something doesn't feel quite right, maybe you should try to consider why is that. Because sometimes I was, especially because I'm Latin, says, no, you're too emotional. No. You have to be more rational, especially living in Germany. But sometimes your gut is telling you good things, but you have to learn how to listen to yourself, especially. And also networking is really important. I would include that in, but not about thinking, okay, what I can give to this person so they can help me, but actually connecting to people. Just having a conversation and really sincere about what you want to do, and just having a casual conversation. And sometimes a person can give you good advice, or it can give you, I know this person that maybe is interested in what you're doing. And then you connect the dots. Because most of the people wants to do the same things that you want to do. And that's, I mean, networking has helped me a lot in the social media and Twitter, when I met you, Instagram, LinkedIn. I mean, it's amazing what you can get out of it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your wise words. I mean, I've got nothing else to add, because I think it makes sense and it will help somebody that's going through that confusion. Because like you said, you know, we all like to dance. I love to salsa. I love to, you know, drop it with heart. You know, I love my Afro beats as well. But sometimes I have to have a conversation with the man in the mirror and be like, babes, is that really necessary? That needs to be documented. You need to apply for that. So, you know, you have to be realistic, I guess. And I love your approach, the way you've said it. Like, I've got nothing else to add in terms of that. So moving on then, I know you're in your final year of your research. Yes. So your methodology, look at that. Your methodology. What is your chosen methodology and why?
Yes, I mean, I'm a modeler basically. So for run a model, to create the model, I mean, the components on the model, what you need is data, basically. That's everything you need. So you go out there to find data, right? But you have to be really strategic, especially if you're working with people, because they don't have much time, or the language is different. Also, we have the language barrier because I can speak German, but still I have to look for specific words because they're so specific sometimes. So in my case, it was with my supervisor that she helped me how to first prepare the interviews, what kind of questions do we need, and also together with the designing of the interviews, what kind of questions that we need. It was together also with the questionnaire that they have to fill out during the interview with the specific data that I would need. And also that helps a lot. Because maybe when you say interview, you will think like this kind of setting, like, okay, you ask me something and I write down. But actually what we did, and maybe for some people it could be interesting, is based on this system dynamics methodology or theory, if you want to call it that way. So you grab a big piece of paper, you ask in beforehand that they have to have a really big table, and you go with, what I have it here, just to show it, with different post-its, with different colors. And then depending on the question you want to ask, then you write down on the paper together with them the answer together with the color. So for example, in our case, I wanted to identify the dangers or the hazards of the agriculture system. It could be drought, or I don't know, a lack of financing or whatever. So that would be orange or red. So it can really pop out of the mind, and the people will be more interested because we were like playing a game together. And then if you want to ask about opportunities, then we use the color blue. And then we write down, okay, what kind of opportunities you see due to climate change. I don't know, like, for example, planting new crops, like planting soybeans in Germany because it's getting warmer, or planting mangoes, or whatever they come off their mind, right? And so on, depending on the category. So at the end, of course, then you have to transfer it to the computer. But at the end of the day, it was easier for them because we could take 2 hours maybe, but it was like a game. And they allocate these 2 hours. And at the end of the interview, we had this big piece of paper filled of a lot of post-it with the different colors with the answers. And then at the end, we took a pen. And then together with them, okay, how you connect these hazards to these opportunities? How you connect these opportunities with these resources? And that was the answers of the interview, basically. And I have a big model with the different colors. So then when I used the computer, then I knew, okay, this is the data related to this, and it is connected in this direction. And it was easier that way. It was way, way easier for me. And that I learned from my supervisor. And it's something that I can really advise to people doing this kind of interviews.
I love that. You're psychological, because you've gone for, okay, red, this is like risk, this is this, blue. So the mind is really excited and they engaged a lot more. So therefore you got everything that you needed, because it's the color scheme.
Yes.
Go you! I'm loving it. I'm sat here going, that is quite interesting. I love that.
Yeah, so I learned that from social sciences, because I'm not social scientist. So my supervisor is more in social sciences, social sciences basically, and she taught me that, and then I could say, oh, okay, we can try it. And then, of course, it was a lot of work put it into the computer and everything, but it was, the limited time that the stakeholders had for us, we have to use it in the most smart way. So I think that's helped a lot. And then people, like you said, they were more engaged, and it was like a game with the different colors and stuff. And I was like, no, please, that this post-it goes this way, and then the arrow, no, it's the other way. So they were really engaged. It was not that boring also for them. So it was, that was a big part of the methodology. And then, of course, the questionnaire, it was numbers, or really more specific. Then, okay, we go to this question, and then we will need numbers. And if they don't have it that way, we just give it the questionnaire, and they just send it back when they fill it out. And that was the big chunk of methodology for the first 2 years of the PhD, basically.
Wow.
And then it was like conventional modeling scheme. You get the data, and now you model. You collect the data, you put it in the right format, and then you use a model, and you just run the model, and you gather the results, and then you analyze them, basically.
Yeah. See, guys at home, Science doesn't have to be boring. You can manipulate the senses.
I love games. I love games. Every time I do a workshop or anything, I do it also outside my research. I try to do it all the workshops through games. It's called smart games. So then you lead to discussions. People are more engaged, and you're having fun and learning something at the same time. So
wow! So you're playing games with me right now?
No. I don't think we don't need games to keep engaged, right? I hope not. Then I have to go downstairs and grab a couple of board games, I think.
So in terms of man hours then, because somebody's sitting at home thinking, oh my gosh, that sounds like a lot of man hours. Did you have an assistant to help you to collect everything, or was it just you going through the whole life cycle from start to finish by yourself?
No, I mean, I was hired for a project. So a kind of part was part of my PhD, but I didn't do all the interviews by myself. It was another PhD student and a postdoc. So we just, we went there, and it was like 3 people, tried to help also with the sticky notes, with the arrows and everything. Another person was asking the questions. I mean, of course, you have some reading questions actually that you need, but sometimes when they answer something really interesting, then I came up just like, what do you mean by this? And then it was like, at the end of the day, we didn't have any assistant. We were our own assistants, basically. So we didn't have to do everything, like design the questions, go there, do the whole game with the sticky notes and everything, and then go back to the office. And then, okay, we have this chunk of information, and we just have to split. Okay, you do this model, you do this. You gather for this interview 1, but you were the 2 or 3. At the end, we have like 20 interviews, so you have to split everything and then put everything on the computer, basically. So wow. Like I said, it was the whole year doing that process. Was the first year of the project.
Okay, so I have 3 more questions left. Right?
Yeah, sure.
And we're coming to the close. So the first one is, we've touched on migration through knowledge, right? That's the term that I'll go for. Would you advise that it's better for somebody that's thinking, okay, I want to relocate from India, and I love your research, Andrea, and I want to take on the world? Would you say it's easier for them to get a scholarship or to self-fund if they're still thinking about the process?
Well, there are many funding opportunities out there, but it's also a job. Like, just applying for the universities is basically a full-time job. Also applying for the funding.
Unpaid, by the way.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of databases. I don't know from India, but for Africa, because I have a good friend from Cameroon, that she finds all the scholarships and fellowships, and I say, how you do that? Because she has a good networking, come back to that. Yeah. But also that they have a really good database that collects all these fellowships and scholarships and all the funding opportunities for people who wants to do either a master's or PhD. Yeah. But you have to go out there and, spend, like you said, man hours to do all the research. But what I did in my case, and also as a possibility, depending on the country you come from, in Colombia, there is a credit scholarship scheme. Okay. And I use it just for the first month and also for the visa. So the German government, she has money for the whole 3 years. So for the master was that. But of course, I didn't want to have a big debt because
no one does.
Exactly. Nobody wants to do that. So what I did, and also helped me a lot with the language, was like, okay, I will study, I will do the master's, but it was not the whole day. So I could get a job. And also in the evenings, I was learning German. But in the job, they said, I'm trying to learn German, so please speak to me in German. So in the company, everybody speaks to me in German. At the beginning, it was really inefficient, let's say this way, because my German was really bad. But that helps me a lot. And then when I was in university, then you have these internal scholarship opportunities that I applied and also got them. So then at the end of the day, I didn't use the credit anymore because I was like self-funded, because I had these scholarships that it was only for university students that I didn't know of beforehand, because I was not enrolled at the university, plus the mini job that I have. So, but for the German government, I was like funded by the credit. So
Yeah.
basically that's another option. But of course you have to be more risky, and sometimes I do that, like trust my eyes and say, okay, I will sign that paper and I will just go. But I can understand not everybody is like this, and that's understandable. You don't have to be like me. Yeah. But like I said, there are many, especially for Germany, there are many scholarships that you can apply for that you don't have to pay back. You don't have to return to your country. Yeah. And you're fully funded, basically, which is really good.
No, thank you for that. I guess, just to add on to your point, is that you have to have an entrepreneurial mind for you to move forward. If you're always hesitant, it won't work. It won't happen. So it is what it is.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's sometimes I see people like, yeah, where I come from the scholarship, please give me all the information, like, like really passive approach. And that's not how it works in this case. I mean, you say entrepreneurial mindset, basically. Yeah.
It is what it is.
Everything what I just said 10 minutes ago.
No. Well, I'm just summarizing so that, it sticks in terms of the person who's sat at home and they're listening. Because the thing is, you have to have purpose and you have to have focus. What you've just said, you knew it was a huge risk, right? But you knew what you wanted to do. You were dedicated inwardly. So there was no one who could come to you and say, oh, that's really bad. What if? No, you was just like, I need to get this done between me and my faith, and we're getting it done. That was it. There was no discussion with anybody else. You and your PA in your head made an executive decision, signed the contract. It was good to go.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, that was it. Yeah. Basically, that was how, yeah, exactly. That's how it was.
So the second question that I would like to ask is in regards to your next steps. So we've spoken about your master's and we've spoken about your PhD, and I know you're getting to the end and we're all excited for you. It's already doctor, signed and filled. So are you thinking postdoc, or are you thinking going to work, as you've mentioned, in terms of the NGOs or United Nations? Where are you at the moment?
Well, I'm in this existential crisis. No, just kidding. I think I'm in this process now. I'm doing a coaching about how to become an entrepreneur. That's what I'm doing at the moment. So I'm trying to write my own business plan for the business idea what I have. That is related to climate services. Basically, it's like strategies or frameworks that I develop for communities, countries, companies to adapt and adapt better to climate change and mitigate the emissions that it produce. So basically, that's what I'm doing. So I'm doing different things, like contacting some Colombian partners that would like to have these services, and some of them say yes. So we are looking like opportunities for funding because they don't have the money. So that's, have like research, basically. You have to write a proposal for funding. And so it's really similar, the experience that I have had so far. What I'm trying to do now. And also with two Colombian colleagues that they founded their own company related to carbon credit projects, basically, that, for example, just an example that the project they have now is they have a community in Colombia, they have a forest, and they want them that they protect the forest there. So they protect the forest, but they get this they can sell these carbon credits, which is they sell it to companies, for example, so they can offset the CO2 emissions, basically. That's kind of the idea. And since I'm just waiting for do my defense, and I'm trying to test the field if it makes sense for me to become an entrepreneur. Say, I can help you with the project because you already funded the company, and we can use it to look out for more projects in this area, and let grow the company. So that's what I'm doing now. But I would like to do science somehow. So I'm thinking that maybe these projects, I mean, I could write papers out of it, of these case studies that we want to do. So let's see, maybe independent researcher plus entrepreneur. I'm trying to define it at the moment, but I'm not thinking about the conventional path of academia. Like now I want to do a postdoc and then become a professor, because that's too late for me, because I have to have planned it before my bachelor. Like I want to become a professor and I just have to outline in my whole path, which I didn't. So that's why I tried to draw my own path in life and not just do it the conventional way.
See, I'm loving you right now. And I'm thinking of past guests that have something similar to you. Mm-hmm. So in the sense of collaboration, I challenge them to say, have an entrepreneurial mind and start a business out of it. And I think I'll share their details. You can just stalk them on the Tinternet and see what they do. But there's a doctor who's in Africa and he works with Mozambique, Kampala, and he looks at waste management and also the challenges with CO2. But you know that in terms of sanitary, etc., there are a lot of challenges. And he's educating the countries, they themselves.
Awesome.
And I think it would be such an amazing collaboration with you. I know that you've got your business partners, but you can make money like 10 ways. Like, why not?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I really, like I said, I like helping people, but also working with people, collaborating, networking. So of course, that would be awesome.
Yeah, remind me when we finish this, because his hasn't aired yet and I don't want to break, the suspense. So I will share their details when we finish this conversation.
Yeah, sure, please do.
That would be I think that would be amazing in terms of combining everything. I don't know how you would work together, but I always think it's great to network. I guess the final question, maybe not the final question, I've got one more. The final question is in regards to why come on Ph.D. Hard Talk?
Well, I saw your tweet basically about this podcast, or I don't know. Yeah, I would call it podcast. And like I also like talking, not about myself, basically. Sometimes I feel weird talking about myself, but having a conversation with people, and if they can learn something from my story, I'm always willing to do that. And I saw the tweet and I say, I will contact her. It's a really good opportunity, not to talk about myself, but just to have another conversation and to network and, exchange and maybe also learn from you. It's something that I'm really willing to do it. And that's why I decided to contact you. And now I'm talking here.
Excellent. So now it leads me to this question. I know you have a podcast and I know you talk to people. And could you please introduce that to the audience? And if they want to talk to you about it, because this is not my field, you deal with the world and how we can live better. Genuinely, I recycle. That's my contribution to life. There's nothing more, but this is your field. And it's an amazing field. And, I'd love to learn more myself. And what you do, I feel like it's amazing. I've seen one where you spoke to somebody and, genuinely, it's, you start to reflect on your own day-to-day behaviors. It's like, okay, I'm buying that. Really, is it necessary? Because, it's just waste kind of thing. So please introduce that so that people know where to find you and when to follow you when you go live, because you go live on LinkedIn, or am I wrong?
Yes, correct. Yes. It's a little project that I created a couple months ago when I just submitted my dissertation, basically, and I said, okay, what I can do now. Because after many years of networking on LinkedIn, I have a big network there. So I thought I could use it also for a good purpose. So I created this project called Knitting Bridges. Because I didn't want to use the cliche phrase of building bridges, and I like knitting. So I thought, okay, maybe I can try to knit a bridge somehow. And basically it's a series of different ideas, also to blog, to write some blogs as well. and now with the lives on LinkedIn, and I want to give a voice to other women or trans women, that doesn't matter, about what they do. I mean, I started with this first season with scientists, or related to scientists, what they do, and also immigrants like myself, that how is the role of a scientist in countries really different where they come from, and also with these gender discussions. So it's something that I really passionate about, and I didn't want to edit because I know editing is a lot of work. So I thought maybe a live is easier because it's out there. I don't have to edit it, and people can watch afterwards. It's less work for me.
Yeah.
And that was basically the idea, to do it live, and also because sometimes people can't interact. It has not happened yet, but at some point people can interact, and I can read the questions to the guests, and they can answer in the moment. So that was also the idea behind it. And now I want, after Christmas, after New Year's Eve, I want to come back to the lives with other people, more to the mental health, because it's also really important, also in academia, this poor mental health culture that we have. And I want to talk about it because there are so many spokespersons, spokeswomen on Twitter, academic Twitter, about mental health and the struggles and how they come with that. And that's something I want to do for next year with my lives.
Amazing. So thank you so much for sharing that information. I guess the reason why I wanted you to share is so that people know that they can come and learn from your podcast. You're not just Andrea the doctor, you're also an entrepreneur, you're an advisor, you're a mentor, and you're a coach. And people need to understand that, we're not just in science for the sake of getting a title. We want to help, and we want the world to be a better place in the sense of knowledge sharing. And that is a powerful tool. So thank you so much for your time today. And I know I kept going, one more question. I'm really sorry. I know you've got plans today.
Thanks for inviting me. It was really fun talking to you.
No problem. So again, remember, project dissemination, share, because I feel like they're really insightful and you will learn a lot. So thank you from me and from Dr. Andrea, because by the time this airs, probably it will be done, signed, sealed, and delivered.
Thank you.